So this video kind of sucks to do, but if you read the title and you guys know I'm a huge wrestling fan, today we lost an absolute legend in the business, one of the most charismatic wrestlers of all time, and more importantly, a family has lost one of their family members in us, losing Scott Hall today. Unfortunately, Scott Hall passed away after having three heart attacks on Saturday night after complications from hip surgery. And, you know, I wanted to do this video to get some things off my chest because when I first started watching wrestling in the early 2000s, there were two superstars or wrestlers, if you want to call them that, that made me interested in the business. And Scott Hall was one of them, the other being Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, I first got amused by Scott Hall when I would go to Blockbuster and rent the old school WWF pay per views from the early 90s when I was like a kid to kind of learn more about like Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, the early stages of The Undertaker. Because when I got into wrestling, Undertaker was Biker Taker, and I never really knew the Dead Man character until 2004. But the one person that stood out in those videos to me was Razor Ramon. As a character, he just was the coolest person on the show. He had the confidence, he had the ability to just kind of captivate anyone watching him. The charisma, and like the shirt says, he was oozing machismo. Now, you know, from being one of the most influential people in wrestling when you look back because of the NWO and just how he changed the game and is one of the reasons wrestlers today have guaranteed contracts when that wasn't a thing. It's tough to not hype up just how much he was a reason the business changed. Scott Hall had something about him that, like I mentioned, was just that cool factor. I remember when I was in like fourth or fifth grade, I used to actually walk around with a toothpick in my mouth because I thought I was super cool if I did so. And that obviously was something I got from watching Scott Hall. Um, Even to this day, when I'm like doing random things, I'll randomly bring out that outsider walk. And people wonder like what I'm doing, but if you're a wrestling fan, people kind of get it. Uh, and I've randomly always incorporated the Too Sweet into certain things I do with my close friends, and that was all Scott Hall NWO click thing. And it sucks. And a couple years ago on the channel, I actually did a video with one of my friends of wrestlers who should have been world champion that never were, and Scott Hall was my number one pick because this guy had everything that made me interested in wrestling. And I never really showed this off on the channel, but I actually have an autograph that I got from Scott Hall back in 2013. Now, when Scott Hall was living with Diamond Dallas Page back in 2013 and turning his life around, they did a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter to help pay for surgery costs. And the moment that went up, I donated, as much as I could at the time, which really wasn't that much, because, I was just a little kid working a part-time job in college. And, anything I could give to kind of like give back to one of my like childhood heroes, I had to. And when I got this in the mail, I was super excited. I had this hanging on my wall for so long in my old house, and you could still kind of see like the pushpin marks into it. And I thought this was the coolest thing because Scott Hall in itself had all that confidence that I wish I could see in myself. Even to the point where one of the funny things I do now is anytime I slick my hair back, I do the smooth, like, look to everything. It's, it's crazy because WWE 2K22 just came out last week, and the first person I wanted to play to, because I had heard that he had to get hip surgery, was Scott Hall. So he was my first match in 2K22 It was a Hell in a Cell match I actually played, and I forgot who I faced. It was an NXT person, but I won by doing a Razor's Edge through a table. And I thought it was the coolest thing. I loved how his character model looked. And, you know, it was one of those things where over the years, ever since he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, it's been great to see him pop back up on TV for like the little cameos because, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, seeing someone I loved from my childhood, you know, it always brings you that certain bit of joy again, right? And, you know, to know that's not going to happen is a sad thing, you know, and as a wrestling fan, there's no denying just the impact he had on the business from having the infamous ladder match with Shawn Michaels to the curtain call to the NWO to the whole formation of that and the Clique. And one of the biggest moments for me was WrestleMania 18 when he faced Stone Cold Steve Austin. The two people that got me into wrestling, you know, and so many people say that wasn't a great match, but for me, that match was like a dream because it was the two people that kept me watching that finally squared off. And, you know, you can't deny that in a way, so much about the two characters of Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, and Steve Austin, they parallel in terms of just straight badassness and being so different for the time. Scott Hall had the character work of someone from like the 70s, the early 80s, but the aggression and the ruthlessness of someone that would have fit in perfectly during the Attitude Era. And, you know, in the new generation, the early 90s, it was such a breath of fresh air. Like, Razor Ramon is a character that, like, everyone who knows wrestling knows. And just, like, you know, it's so weird because when you think about just everything he did, the people he affected in terms of training, you know, the Razor's Edge has become a move that so many people do now. And, you know, it just sucks thinking about it, you know. It brings kind of a smile to my face just thinking about, like, all the cool stuff he did because, you know, there was no character ever out there like Razor Ramon. Scott Hall as a human being just always came off cool, calm, collected, funny, and very soft-spoken at the same time. You know, I used to love The Survey Says. You know, he used to come out in ECW to the Fugees, like, Ready or Not. That was super cool at the time, too. And, like, I think it says a lot about the charisma that over the years, like, he just always remained the cool factor of the NWO. And, you know, it's wild as I'm, like, looking at this autograph, and I know I have the Razor shirt that I bought, like, 4 years ago, that, you know, he's no longer with us. And just like even thinking about the situation surrounding it is like crazy, right? Because going in for hip surgery, then having a blood clot that got loose and whatnot, like, I don't want to go too much into it because, like, surgery itself kind of freaks me out. But, like, this man was meant for wrestling. I have the Blu-ray of his documentary WWE put out a couple years ago, and it's like one of my favorite documentaries because I just always found Scott Hall as a human being so fascinating. His story is fascinating, and just, you know, the fact that 9 years ago he was able to kind of change his life around, get reaccepted back into the wrestling community, and seemingly was doing so good. But now that's kind of all just over. And, you know, I'm going to be on a podcast on Wednesday as the time of this recording, and one of the things they saw was a video where I was wearing this shirt, and we kind of all agreed going into it to wear this shirt, and this was like back in January because we all just loved Razor Ramon, and I still plan on wearing this shirt on that podcast just because of, the current events, and it's just weird now thinking about it because of just how much everything has changed so quickly, especially like, I don't know, it hurts in a way because, one, WrestleMania is right around the corner. Not that he was going to be a part of it, not like that I want to make it selfish that it's wrestling themed. And my birthday is like next week, so it's like the timing of this just hurts a little bit more, I think, on a personal level. But that's not anything anyone can do about it. That's life. But you know, from a guy who, or for a guy who like went out, he fought his demons, he got better, he got inducted to the Hall of Fame, he, seemingly turned his life around and was given back to all like the people in the wrestling community, the students, and in recent years, no one has a bad word to say about the guy. And the history going back to the AWA when he was first coming up, to being the Diamond Stud, to Razor Ramon, to coming back to WWE after being in WCW as a part of the Outsiders. Like, there's just so many memories of Scott Hall and the Toothpick and the Hey Yo, and you think about the appearances he's made anytime he came back recently. That Hey Yo popped the crowd so much because he was just so beloved, and it was such a memorable line because it was something that brought people back and something that was still cool. And with losing him today, the wrestling community, the world, a family has lost a man that was just so special in a way. He had the charisma, he had the personality, the cool factor. Like, he was that guy that you wanted to have that confidence. I would think. At least I know I did. Scott Hall had, anytime personal fact, would have any lapses in not believing in myself, I would watch people who had that confidence I needed. And Scott Hall had that confidence that, I always used to try to work up. And probably still will today. And, I want to end it on the fact that, I want to send all my prayers out to the Hall family, to the wrestling community, to Scott Hall, who hopefully is looking down, respecting this video. And I guess, the best way to end it, because we know this is a lasting legacy of a guy who's never going to be forgotten for his contributions, is that famous line from the Hall of Fame speech. Hard work pays off, dreams come true, bad times don't last, but bad guys do. Rest in peace, Scott Hall. The wrestling community appreciates everything you've done. I guess, guys, thank you for watching this. If you've stuck your way through the whole video, what are your favorite Scott Hall, Razor Ramon moments? Leave them down in the comment section below. As always, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. Hug your loved ones a little bit more. Tell people you love them more. And never not show appreciation for people who have touched you in some sort of way to make your life better, guys. Until next time, see ya. Bye.